do I even have the capacity to change anymore? Is it even worth delving into some of this because I'm 75. What's the use of me looking back at some of those hurts and pains? Well, guess what? Who knows how long you're going to live, right? And if the good Lord has decided, listen, you're going to be around until you're 100. So you got, 25 years to sit with that. You might want to look at it. Welcome to the Pastor's Lounge. I'm Sheri, your unapologetically Christian therapist. Here we talk about all things mental health and wellness from a biblical perspective. Today we're going to talk about the notion of whether you can be too old or too late to work on some mental health issues or traumas or past pain or things that have gone on in your life. And the answer is no, you're not too old. It's not too late. I want to encourage you, if you are on the fence, you are working through some things or considering working through some things, and you are just wondering, listen, do I even have the capacity to change anymore? Is it even worth delving into some of this because I'm 75. What's the use of me looking back at some of those hurts and pains? Well, guess what? Who knows how long you're going to live, right? And if the good Lord has decided, listen, you're going to be around until you're 100. So you got, 25 years to sit with that. You might want to look at it. Yeah, there's no reason to avoid taking the time to work on something that is hurting you, to address an area that has been plaguing you. And I wonder, some people just may think that it's a matter of the emotional intelligence or the aptitude to change. Some people are like, well, that person's too old to change. They're just, that's how they are. It's how it's always going to be. Not if they decide it's not. Now listen, yes, there are some elements to consider, but we're Christians, so we have exceptions to everything because we serve a God who can do the impossible. So even if you go as far as saying, well, my brain is just not the same as it used to be, it's not as quick, right? I don't know if I can take on these concepts and do this work. Well, have you decided that you want to? Then yes. So you can make a comparison to something like learning a new language. There is a window in which you can learn a new language fluently and sound like you're a native, even if it's not your first language. I believe, and I don't want to misquote, there are those out there who know better than me, but I think somewhere between, I'll say birth about, probably like 11 or 12, somewhere in there, or 8 or so. Somewhere around there, there's a degree, there's a window there where you can absolutely take on several languages and speak them natively and fluently. And past that point, you may have a little bit of an accent or might be able to tell that, okay, that's not really your first language, but you can still learn it. And even past that point, obviously, there are plenty of adults who are taking, using all these different apps and programs to learn different languages. Maybe you may not get to the point of a native speaker, but you may get pretty conversational, right? You may say, you may learn enough to get through a really nice vacation. And what's wrong with that, right? So even if you find that, all right, I may not have the aptitude to take on all of these therapeutic concepts, Sheri, like I may not get as fluent as you, in them, but I could robotically memorize a thing or two and try to apply a couple of things differently to make these last few years, whatever years I've left, be just that much healthier. Isn't that worth it though? Right? Isn't that worth it for you, for your family, those who love you and want to have better relationship with you, that you take the time to unpack or unravel just those couple of things, take on a couple of new concepts, learn a couple of new dance moves, at your latter age? Why not? So at the end of the day, short and sweet, you are not too old, and it is never too late to embrace healing and wholeness. So if you're on the fence about that, if you are considering getting into therapy or getting into some of this work and you're wondering whether or not you can age out of this space, absolutely not. Get in here, work on whatever's plaguing you, pursue your wholeness with all of your heart, and enjoy the rest of your life with complete fulfillment, with complete true joy, and have some things addressed. Why not? Why wouldn't you want that for yourself? I've had quite a few clients who are a little bit old. They're actually my favorite, if I'm totally honest with you. I enjoy clients that are probably around their 50s or 60s. And it's just because you're at a stage where you've got a good amount of wisdom. You've been you've lived a lot already, you've experienced a lot already. And if you were a parent or a parent, your kids are now probably grown or getting there, and it's your time. It's your time to shine and think about your own life and kind of reflect on some things and make some changes and have more freedom to do it, more time to actually reflect and make changes. So I think there's some clients that come to mind that have taken this step, and it's a little bit scary, right? To step in and start to do this work and consider a change. So one that comes to mind is around her 60s. And she was coming into therapy to work on, some loss and some grief, some things that had happened in her life that were really hurtful. And we did a whole lot of unpacking and addressing some things. And there were things that she forgot that she even liked to do in the midst of everything that she'd been processing, things that have just kind of just faded in the wind because she just had so much of her life was wrapped up in the loss and the grief and the processing. And in the course of our work, she started to remember, I really liked working out. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's kind of take a look at that. I actually remember really liking to cook. The bug's starting to bite me again. I was like, oh, this is great. And little by little, she just found herself getting back into her life. Things that had just been collecting dust, really. In her mind's eye, just because her life had been so given to these other things that have been happening. And to watch her really start to blossom and step out into these areas of skill that had just gone unnoticed or just untouched for such a long time, and see the joy return, see the anxiety start to reduce as she got to reconnect herself with herself. It was so beautiful. It was so refreshing. You just watch the color just come back to her face, like the pep come back in her step. And I'm like, hey, there you are, right? It's just so incredibly special. I've had clients who have gone on to prepare writing books that they never thought they would, take trips they never thought they would, travel by themselves. That's one of my favorite things to see clients do that they swore they would never be able to, or I'd never be brave enough to try this. Or yes, older men and women who are realizing I could do that. Like I still got it. I could take that trip. I can start this new relationship. And I'm just sitting there like, look at you coming in with, clients came in with just obliterated self-esteem and working so hard, dealing with so many past issues, and just watching the confidence just boost and come right in where they're like, Sheri, I had to, turn down some of these people. They're just reaching out, and, all these old flames coming back. I was like, look at you. after years of feeling, so just unwanted, and to watch that all turn around and see them do things that they really thought they weren't going to be able to do. I've seen it with even clients I've done physical, training with who are older in life. And really never thought, I'm not going to run a 5K. I'm not going to do an obstacle race. I could never. I am a witness. And if they're watching this, they know who I'm talking about. I have witnessed these women come out and do stuff that it still blows my mind. It makes me so proud. There's nothing you can't do. You're not too old. It's never too late. You have no idea what you're capable of until you put yourself in the situation to do it. So these are just the examples that come to mind as I'm talking, and I'm just so overwhelmed just thinking about them, because I'm just so proud. I'm so proud of these people who truly walked into, whether it was the personal training space or the therapy space with me, and just had no concept of themselves doing the things that I'm now sitting here like, look, remember when you said you couldn't do this? You're doing it right now. It's like the sweetest I told you so I could ever have the privilege of saying. They're coming like, oh, Sheri, whatever. Of course you think I can do that. I don't think I could. Well, they all are doing it now. So you can do it. Whatever it is that you are just on the fence about whether or not you have it in you, if it's a desire, if you feel it, if you know in your heart, I'm not done. I'm not done living my best life. I could do better than this. Then go ahead, do it, pursue it. You can. If it's a desire in your heart, then you can absolutely go for it, and there's plenty of support out there for you. I hope this video has been an inspiration to you. It has encouraged you to not give up on things that you're trying to pursue, regardless of your age, your situation. If this has been a motivation, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, I pray that you prosper and you are in great health, even and especially as your soul prospers.